Patrick Laine of the Winnipeg Jets said he felt the play in a resuming after 3 months would be pretty poor. Without asking you to comment specifically on what he said, how do you think the level of play overall in the NHL might be if this thing gets resumed?
I think the level of play will be competitive. There may be an adjustment process in the early parts of the resume to play, but I don't think it's going to take the players long, to find their timing and their touch. And so, there's a lot to play for. These guys are proud guys. They're the best players in the world. And I think a lot of them see the opportunity in front of them. I guess I can just speak for, I can only speak for how I feel about our players in Pittsburgh, but in my conversations with a lot of our players, I know they're excited to play, and I know how much of an opportunity they see in front of them. Now, obviously, we've got to go out and earn it, but I think that drive and that motivation to win a Stanley Cup is going to force players into a quick adjustment process. So I beg to differ. I would think that I can assure you this: the competition is going to be fierce, and as play starts to resume and the more games guys get under their belt, the quality of execution will continue to improve.
Okay, next question comes from Mike DeFabo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Mike, thanks. I appreciate you making the time to do this for us. My question is about, with camps scheduled to start in about 10 days, I'm curious, generally speaking, what are some of the objectives of a training camp, and then how might that be different when you're now going to be asked to prepare a team for something that they've never prepared for in a very short period of time? What are going to be some of the main things you're going to be focused on this limited time?
Well, the primary objective is to prepare our team for playoff competition. And so, the logistics in this circumstance are very different than coming into a training camp in September at the beginning of the season when you have an 82-game schedule in front of you. So we are essentially going to start competing in the highest stakes environment that's presented to us. And so from that standpoint, there's going to be less evaluation on players and more about, how do we return the chemistry and the semblance of the team concept that we've played all year long. And so we have our team selected. We're comfortable with the roles that we've cast certain guys in. And so our objective is to prepare them for competition. And that's going to entail a lot of details. But that essentially, at the end of the day, is the question that I pose to the coaching staff. And then we drill down into the details from there.
Next question is from Wes Crosby of NHL.com. Go ahead, Wes.
Hey, Mike, thanks for doing this. Kind of a bit going off of what you were just talking about. Given the unique circumstances, how beneficial do you think it is for you as a coach to have a group that's been through so many different forms of adversity with the core group there in Sid, Gino, Letang, Murray, so on?
Well, I think it's invaluable to have the experience level that we have on our team and the leadership that we have on our team. I think these guys have been through a lot in their careers, and because of that, they have the benefit of perspective. And so I think it serves them well in uncertain times like this. And so I know in the discussions that I've had with our guys, and in particular our leadership group, these guys look at what's in front of us as a great opportunity. And so they're trying to do everything within their power to make themselves ready and to prepare themselves for that opportunity, because they also know how hard it is to win, and that we're going to have to go out and earn it each and every day. So that leadership, that experience, for me, is invaluable at this time.
Next question is from Dan Potash from AT&T Sportsnet.
Hey, you better smile when you hear my voice, Sully. Come on. Good morning. Quick question for you regarding what phase two has been like for you and your staff. We've talked to a few of your players over the last couple of weeks, and we've asked them to kind of detail what these voluntary workouts have been like. What are you able to do with your staff as far as preparing for, I guess it would be phase three training camp, and then, of course, the regular season, which falls in 2 weeks or 3 weeks afterward?
Well, it's great to hear your voice, Dan. I miss our conversations before the games and all those funky outfits that you come in on the theme night. So I look forward to that opportunity at some particular point when some normalcy returns. But we've done a lot as a coaching staff. We've been preparing for this for quite some time now. We've tried to think through all the potential scenarios and try to prepare for each one of them. And as we've gotten more detail and direction and clarity from the league, we've gone back as a staff and tried to just add more detail to our planning process. So, we've been very involved in the planning of the informal skate process in phase two, even though we have limited participation in it. We've spent a lot of time on this training camp that we're about to embark on and prioritize, what our objectives are and how we're going to go about that process. So we've been preparing all along here. As a coaching staff, we have 2 to 3 WebEx meetings every week. We've stayed engaged as a coaching staff, and I feel really good about where we're at. So. This isn't. I think our role in this process, this training camp coming up, is going to be critically important to giving our team an opportunity to compete and have success. And we're trying to do everything within our power to make sure we're ready for that.
Next question is from Will Graves of the Associated Press.
Hey, Mike, I'm just curious, usually you mentioned it earlier that, you have camp and you have a 6-month regular season, and it's basically like a slow ramp up process to get to the playoffs. What are the mental challenges of going from 0 to 100? I mean, there is no time to settle in and kind of get your feet and get going. I mean, what are the mental challenges that the teams are going to face, and how do you try to replicate that in a training camp environment?
Well, I think there are significant challenges from a mindset standpoint, and making sure that we get we get out of the summer hockey mode or the social distancing skates into real competitive hockey, because that's what we're going to be faced with in a short period of time. And for me, that starts with a mindset. And so. We're going as a coaching staff. We're going to discuss that with our players. We already have to this point, but we'll continue to discuss that throughout training camp. We're going to put our guys through game simulations. We'll have inter-squad games throughout the course of training camp to make sure that we give our guys an opportunity to feel the game day scenario and put their bodies through that process. So that we can try to help with that transition back into that competitive mindset that's so necessary to have success in this league. So there's a couple of things that we're thinking about as a coaching staff that we're trying to do to make sure that we help in that process.
Okay, just a reminder, once you ask a question, you can continue to keep your hand raised, or you can put your hand down if you no longer have a question. The next question is from Seth Rohrabaugh from the Tribune Review. Seth, go ahead.
Hi, Mike. How much do you need to reintroduce concepts or vocabulary or structure to your players for how you guys want to play, given that you haven't really met as a team face-to-face over 3 months? Or have your video meetings and whatnot, have those maybe kind of covered that or reiterated that over this 3-month gap?
Well, we'll for sure go through that process, and we'll have video meetings and we'll practice those concepts throughout the course of training camp and refamiliarizing our guys with with the team concepts and how we're trying to play. But I do think that the WebEx meetings that we've had with these guys throughout the course of this stoppage in play will be helpful. You know, we've tried to keep the players engaged through this stoppage in play, and so one of the things that we did on a weekly basis was, you know, we picked certain topics of our team concept. The coaches prepared video for the players. You know, we went into these breakout meetings where we had small groups with coaches facilitating each group, and we discussed and had video examples of the concepts that we're talking about and the details of how we're trying to play. So I do think those meetings will be beneficial for our guys, because I think they're fresh in their minds. It isn't something that the language or the video they haven't seen for 3 months. These guys have seen this on a weekly basis. So, and we're talking the language on a weekly basis with them. And so my hope is that those WebEx meetings will be very productive when we start to get back together and get on the ice.
Okay, next question is Mike DeFabo from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Mike. Over the last couple of days in Major League Baseball and in the NBA, for example, there have been a number of players who have come out and decided to opt out of playing. I'm curious if you've had any discussions with any Penguins about whether they might be thinking along those lines, or if any players might be disqualified because of medical conditions.
Well, what I can say is, of all the discussions that I've had with our players, I'm unaware of anyone that has that sort of concern. You know, the discussions that I've had to this point with our players is more around the opportunity that's in front of us, and these guys are excited to play. I do think that, you know, all of us understand, you know, the risks associated with the return to play. We also trust that the league is doing everything within their power to control what they can to mitigate those risks as best they can. So that's really where the mindset of our group is at right now. And those were most of the discussions that I've had to this point with our players.
Okay, next question is from Wes Crosby of NHL.com. Go ahead, Wes.
Hey, Mike. I know you like to focus on your guys and your team, but looking ahead to that matchup against Montreal, what do you expect that they would bring into that best-of-5 series against you?
Well, they're a really good team. You know, they're fast. They've got a great counterattack game. They have good structure. They have solid goaltending. They're a good defensive team, and so we expect a hard-fought battle. It's going to be a scenario where we know we're going to have to fight for our scoring chances. We're going to have an element of patience associated with our game, so that we don't force plays that aren't there and turn into a high-risk team. We know it's going to be a hard-fought battle. You know, there's a lot of parity in this league. There's such a fine line between winning and losing. You know, the difference between the top 5 teams and the middle of the pack teams is not that significant, and that's just the reality of the league in today's game. Every night is a hard-fought battle, regardless of who your opponent is, and that's what we expect. We have a lot of respect for Montreal and the players that they have, the coaching staff that they have. This is a well-coached group, and we're going to have to be at our very best.
Next question comes from Jenna Harner, WPXI. Go ahead, Jenna.
Hey, Mike, thanks so much for taking some time. Obviously, you guys are just looking at the small picture, but is there a little bit in the back of your mind knowing that there is a potential that things could start up and then they could get shut down again?
Well, we understand that that's a possibility, but none of us have a crystal ball. We don't know where this is going to go. And our focus with our players has always been to just control the controllables. Let's not focus on the things that are out of our control. Let's prepare for all the potential scenarios that may come our way, and let's be ready to handle them the appropriate way. And so that's really where the focus is with our group. That's where the focus is with our coaching staff. We're just going to take each day as it comes. We're going to embrace the challenges that come our way, and we're looking forward to the opportunity to compete for the Stanley Cup. And that's really how we look at it, regardless of where the hub cities are at, or who our opponent is, or what the rules are, or what the format is. We're really not interested in that stuff right now. We're interested in just competing to try to win a Stanley Cup, and I think that's where the focus and that's where the mindset of this group is at.
Okay, next question comes from Seth Rohrball, the Tribune Review. Go ahead, Seth.
Mike, you've often talked about how much of an impact Jack Parker's had on your personal and professional life. Have any of your NHL coaches that you played for, whether it was San Jose, Boston, Phoenix, Calgary, any of those coaches in those stops have any kind of impact on you as far as the type of coach that you've become in this second career for you?
Oh, for sure they have. I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to play for some really good coaches over the years, and they've all had an influence on me as a player and a person and now a coach. I had the privilege to play for Dave King when I was in Calgary, and I thought Dave was a great teacher, really articulate, well prepared. I learned so much about the game from Dave. I have so much respect for Dave and how hard he worked at the coaching profession. I played for Pat Burns when I was in Boston. I thought Pat was a great bench coach and had a great wit and sense of humor about him. He was. I love playing for Pat. The other thing I would mention is the influence that John Tortorella's had on me. Nobody's ever really asked about those types of experiences, but to have the opportunity to work beside Torts for the amount of years that I did, and here's a guy that won at a number of different levels. He won a Stanley Cup. He won at the American League level, and to watch how he interacts with his star players every day and how he implements a certain coaching process to build his team the way he did was a great learning experience for me as well. So I'm grateful for all of those experiences. I'm grateful to all of those guys because they've had a significant influence on me and my coaching style and how I apply I guess my own coaching philosophy to the Pittsburgh Penguins today.
Okay, next question comes from Mike DeFabo, the Post-Gazette. Go ahead, Mike.
Mike, this question kind of dovetails off my last question, but is everybody in Pittsburgh now that you expect to have for training camp, or are you still expecting to get a few more people in, or where does that stand?
To my knowledge, everybody's there right now. The last player to arrive was Patrick Hornquist, who's going through the quarantine / testing protocol that the league has mandated. But right now we have our full complement of players in Pittsburgh.
The next question is Will Graves of the Associated Press. Go ahead, Will.
Mike, I'm just curious. There's been a rise in cases in Allegheny County the last few days. There's been a rise in cases in a lot of places. Have you, as the league or the team specifically, modified its recommendations to the players on what to do and how to, your best practices in terms of what they should and shouldn't do to kind of try to mitigate their exposure as much as possible?
Well, we've had discussions with our players on, just exercising common sense and keeping your circles tight and making sure that, you're wearing masks in the appropriate places and, you're not exposing yourself to unnecessary risk and just utilizing common sense. And it's to everyone's benefit, whether it be our players or the public in general. So, we've had those discussions with our players. I think our medical staff, which is led by Dr. Vias, has done a terrific job at providing facts and information to all of us to try to guide us through this time of uncertainty. we're all trying to navigate through this uncertain time, and we're fortunate to have the people that we have associated with our organization that can guide us and help us in this circumstance.
We have a couple more. Next one is from Seth from the Tribune Review. Go ahead, Seth.
Mike, hockey players are renowned for playing through all sorts of injuries and ailments and whatnot. This is probably a little bit different. How much do you need to stress to your players, or maybe more specifically, do your medical staffers need to stress to players that if you feel just a little bit sick or what have you, you need to say something. You maybe need to kind of pull yourself away from practice or play or what have you?
Well, we'll have those discussions when we meet as a team before training camp and try to set certain parameters and how we're going to go about our business every day. But I think our players, once again, we have the benefit of some experience on our team. I think they understand it. They understand the circumstance, and we'll do everything within our power to try to protect our players and the group as a whole. And try to implement a certain process that does the same. And so, whether it be reporting, illness or things of that sort to our medical staff in a timely fashion, obviously at this time, that's going to be important and an important aspect.
Okay, we'll take one more from Mike DeFabo of the Post-Gazette. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Mike. From what I understand, the risk factors increase based upon age. Jock is a member of your coaching staff who is up there in age. I'm curious if you've had any discussions with him about his comfort level of being behind the bench during a hockey game.
Jacques might debate that phrase, he's up there in age. But I do understand the question. I'm just joking with you. Jacques understands the circumstance. Him and I had a conversation about it. He is comfortable in participating in a full capacity in this environment. He does a great job from a fitness standpoint and taking care of himself. He's a healthy guy. He feels as though he's is strong and healthy for his age. And he also understands the risks associated with it. And so, but certainly that was a conversation that Jacques and I had for obvious reasons. And that is his choice to decide to participate in a full capacity, or if he wasn't comfortable, then the opportunity to participate in a limited capacity, we would work with him. And so, but I did have that conversation with Jacques. He feels comfortable and wants to participate in a full capacity. And so that's the route that we're going to take.
Two more. Dan Potash, AT&T Sportsnet. Go ahead, Dan.
Hey, Sully, I'm sure that when you go on the road, some buildings or arenas could be more of a challenge to play in when it comes to the acoustics with fans and so forth. Knowing that you won't have to deal with that, are there some buildings, and there are obviously a short list of finalists left for the hub cities, are there some buildings that will be more challenging to play in when it comes to how the puck plays off the boards, the ice, and so forth, that maybe you would look forward to playing in as opposed to other buildings where the puck plays differently? Is that a challenge as well, knowing that you're going to have maybe a long set of games in that one place?
I don't think it's a challenge as much as it just is trying to understand the unique subtleties of all the buildings. Some boards are livelier than others. How the puck comes off the kickboards from the corners, for example, whether they jump right out in front. That's just in having an understanding of the environment that we're participating in, and we always go through an experiment process and morning skates and things of that nature to try to make our guys aware of anything unique in a particular building. But at the end of the day, it's really just a small adjustment, and our players are well aware of it. I don't think it really matters where we play or which hub city it is. We're excited to play, and we're looking forward to the opportunity in front of us.
Okay, one more question. It was submitted by Dave Molinari of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and I hope you have a good memory. What did Montreal do well in its 4-1 victory at PPG Paints Arena on December 10th, and what must your team do to prevent the Canadiens from replicating that during the play-in series?
I'm trying to remember December 10th. Well, what I can tell you is that my guess is that on December 10th, Montreal played better than we did, and that's why they won. We are going through a process as a coaching staff right now at pre-scouting Montreal and looking at their most recent games and watching some of our games that we played against them. You know, as a coaching staff, we're always cautious to go back too far in the season because, you know, personnel changes and subtleties to their tactics change. And so we try to stay with most recent events, and that's the process that we've gone through. But what I can tell you is that Montreal is a real good team. Their biggest strength, in my opinion, is their structure, their team speed, their counterattack game, and obviously they have real good goaltending. So we know it's going to be a hard-fought series. We're going to have to be prepared to be at our very best. And you know, there are certain things that we'll point out to our players, tendencies that Montreal may have, and so we'll make sure that our players are well prepared for what we're about to face in this series. But we've got a lot of respect for Montreal and how good they are.